Welcome to the Mortgage Broker Podcast, tailor-made for Canadian mortgage industry professionals. Proudly presented by A Better Way Mortgage Group, this podcast is your trusted source for insider insights, market updates, and strategies to elevate your career in the ever-evolving world of mortgage brokering. Whether you're a seasoned broker with A Better Way Mortgage Group or an industry enthusiast looking to stay ahead, our episodes are designed to empower you with the knowledge and tools you need to excel in the Canadian mortgage space. All right, we're back for another episode of the Mortgage Broker Podcast, and this one is certainly a big one for us internally at A Better Way Mortgage Group. We are announcing a key new hire, a new role to A Better Way Mortgage Group, which is our Chief Compliance and Operations Officer, something we've been looking forward to for quite some time. The rollout of FinTrack and all the changes that we experienced last year and some of the key new hires that we made last year shape this role in a big way. I'm certainly going to let Deryk take the reins on that because it's pretty much been his control for the last, 12 months as of today of recording this. So Deryk, why don't you take it away and just kind of frame up, what this role is and why it's so important to us and why we think it's going to be important for our listeners that are outside of A Better Way.
Sounds like you're passing the buck a little bit on the compliance tag there, Dean. But no, we're super excited. Like Dean mentioned, I mean, we've, for everyone that knows us in our business, especially internally, we took over A Better Way. We're going on 3 years as of February 2026. And, since we've taken over, we've been extremely focused on growth, training, education, and a big piece is compliance. It's a part of the business that you can't ignore. It's really, really important. It's ever changing. There's constant projects, and we don't take it lightly. We understand the importance of compliance and regulation in our industry, and we've put an immense amount of work into this to make sure that we are leading the charge in the industry. This is a piece that we will never be on the tailing end of. Our job as brokerage owners is to protect our agents, right? It's to ensure that they have the resources, they have the people available to support them in their business to ensure that they're doing what they need to do to stay above board when it comes to compliance. So, long story short, enter Justin Noda. I have nothing but great things to say about him. We're going to get into Justin and some of his background, but we've known each other for, probably 8 years now, maybe a little bit longer. We actually worked together at our previous brokerage, Thrive Mortgage Co., for a couple of years, which was a great experience all around. Yeah, again, nothing but great things to say. I don't think there's anyone better in the industry to fill this bucket for the brokerage. And I'm excited to loop Justin into the business and make sure, the introductions are strong. And I have full expectation that everyone's going to have a great experience working with you, Justin.
Thanks. I appreciate it. No, this is wonderful. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah. I mean, and for me, I just echo the same that, Deryk had to say just about yourself and working with you in the past. I think ever since we stopped working together, I always felt like our paths would align again. We have a lot in common. We think the same. And, for typical compliance people in the industry, I don't think it's a secret that they're not the most personal people, and you're the complete opposite of that. So yeah, I mean, just all in all, welcome to the team, welcome to the show. And, part of that is, an ongoing news segment that we're going to have on the podcast, which is going to be behind the brokerage and just everything that's going on from operations, for those of you that are interested in, what's coming, the changes that are coming with BCFSA, all of that, quote unquote fun stuff, it's important and it has to be, addressed, and you're going to be at the leading end of spearheading that. And so I'm just very happy to have you on the team and looking forward to rolling this out. So Justin, welcome to the show. And why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about you and what's important to you with this role and kind of why you made the choice to join us?
Yeah. Again, thank you. I appreciate this. This is kind of like the first big hire that I can see in the industry for someone in this role at a brokerage level. You kind of start to see it at a national level when you're talking about the Scott Musselmans, right, of the world, where they, have been around forever and they've kind of dipped their foot in it and that's where they've ended up. I have nothing but appreciation for you guys seeing kind of the future of where this industry is going and realizing, maybe we need someone there to plug the hole. And, like you guys said, when we worked together, it was great. We've kept in touch, right? Little text messages here and there saying hello or congratulations on, a milestone in your life. Happy birthday, Merry Christmas, right? All those stuff. And I think that just goes to show, that the industry is small and you never know who you're going to end up working with again. So making sure that you approach the positions that you're in and the positions that you might be in. Hopefully this will help show people that, expansion can happen. And even if you find yourself in one role, it's an ever evolving industry, right? So you're started as an underwriter and then you end up a director and then you end up a chief compliance officer, right? You never know what the dice is going to roll. But yeah, I think it's a really good fit for what I bring to the business, which is 18 years, right? I've been a licensed mortgage professional this is my 18th year. I'm licensed in BC and Alberta and Ontario. In Ontario, I'm licensed as a broker, not an agent, which is great. I'm proud of that. With their licensing levels, it's something that, you have to look into, especially if you're planning on growing. And like it or lump it, FSRA's a beast in the industry. So they want to make sure that all their I's are dotted and T's are crossed as well. But definitely my first love is for BC and for the mortgage broker world out there. It's where I've spent the last 10, 12 years. And so it's something that I've been able to grow and be a part of through not only my past underwriting experiences, which I underwrote for about 10 years, 2 of which was with you guys. And then before that, I underwrote for Clear Trust. So I got to know a bunch of the DLC boys over there. And before that, I was with Mark Ogello, who owns Home Financing Solutions, which is a Mortgage Center franchise. And then prior to that, I owned a Mortgage Center franchise in Calgary for 10 years. So I've been inside the DLCG for a good number of stretches, able to meet a lot of people, able to see the leadership changes, able to appreciate the leadership that's there now as well. And I think it's a really excellent piece of the industry that most people aren't aware of. And that's, like I said, that was the underwriting. And it taught me so many different areas and so many different aspects of this industry. But it also showed me what I wanted to do, right? I love the underwriting and I love the puzzle solving, but I got an opportunity to work under Kyle Green at Origin Mortgages. And I did that for 3 years as their managing director. And Kyle was the one who kind of saw me as the underwriter who could be more. So I have nothing but appreciation and respect for him bringing me over and teaching me that side of the industry, the ownership, the operations, the management side of things. And it was there that I discovered my love for compliance, as weird as that sounds, the love for compliance and the operations side. So I was able to implement and develop provincial regulatory guidelines and provincial regulatory tools to help all the agents at Origin Mortgages. And it just so happens that in that time frame, FINTRAC was also dropped. So when FINTRAC dropped, everybody's heads exploded. Nobody had compliance people because compliance people weren't really, they weren't the salesmen. They weren't what drove the business. They weren't what brought agents in, right? That was all the Kyles and the big producers and how can you get business? And I saw that there was going to be a big opening for that. So I really dove in, kind of figured out the FINTRAC side of things with the help of other people in the industry, like-minded individuals. And we built something at Origin that was really good. And I'm really proud that it was there and it's still being used today. After that, I actually had an opportunity to go work at a different brokerage with CFS, which is Centum's national brand. And I was there for the last probably 9 months. Really good people, nothing bad to say about them. They gave me lots of opportunities in order to really, again, develop in the compliance role that I wanted to. They had a lot of resources in order to build full FINTRAC systems and robust reporting availabilities to all the agents, which we developed, we built, we rolled out. And again, all that did was just empower me even more to know where I want to be and where I want to sit in the industry. And that's playing the white knight, right? I love protecting the brokers. I love making sure that the brokerage is safe. Even if they don't think I'm protecting them, I know I'm protecting them. So yell all you want. But push comes to shove, like you guys were saying, this is a piece of the industry that's going to stay. It's not going anywhere. If anything, it's going to get harder. And if anything, there's going to be more rules and regulations. And I honestly hope that lots of the other big brokerages see the way that this is going and empower people within their organizations or hire outside of them that are going to fill that hole as well.
Thanks for all that, Justin. I appreciate the context and kind of the background on yourself. I just wanted to point out a couple of things that you mentioned that I think are key, and it kind of ties into what I said earlier about why we think you're the best fit for this role. It is tough to find someone that has a passion and a love for compliance, right? So that was one box ticked. Your experience within the DLCG that's important to us, right? Familiarity with, the leadership, the team, the technology, everything, it's huge. Because this role, it has operations in the title as well. This isn't just to be a compliance officer. It's to support the brokerage in many different capacities, right? You're going to be very intertwined with, Dean, myself, Jason, our partners in Alberta and Ontario as well. There's a lot of initiatives that we have taken on. And again, our growth plan is to continue to support our agents in every way we possibly can, which comes down to tools and training and education. I mean, you tick the boxes of the DLCG, historical relationships, the compliance passion. But I think the other big piece is your brokering experience, right? That's a rare piece to be able to kind of cover those three boxes and be able to support brokers in every capacity of their business. It's huge. It's hard to find. And again, this is why, we pushed hard to make this happen. And we're really glad that we're here today. So yeah, thanks for all that.
Yeah. Like I just had a couple comments too. Like, and one thing that stood out to me, it's like, how does somebody find a passion for compliance? Like it is kind of like a funny thing to think about, but like you made a comment, like the white knight that just wants to protect. And like, we've really taken the approach since, we started planning for FinTrack early last year, and then it rolled out towards the end of the year. And then here we are a year later, going through all that. Like we are truly in the business of protecting our brokers. Like that is our passion, is to protect our brokers. And to be passionate about protection, it has to be compliance. It has to be all these things we're talking about, right? And so I feel like that's almost like what drew that out of us, in naturally, like, we are passionate about this now because of just the innate, desire to protect our team.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's funny. Sorry, just leading up to FinTrack, a term was kind of brought to light, like a culture of compliance, right? How do you build a culture of compliance within this isn't a group of employees. This is a group of self-employed individuals that are commission-based, business people. And it was really enlightening and very positive when we had to roll out FinTrack, how engaged our agents were to learn, to educate, to do the right thing. That was the first drastic shift that we've had in the industry since we've been around, right? Don't get me wrong, there's been Form 10s and B20 and stuff like that where everyone thought the world was going to collapse. But this is a true significant change that has true potentially drastic impacts on the industry, on an individual agent, and on a brokerage. And it was just so awesome to see how our agents engaged in this, learned the process, understand what they have to do. They ask questions. So that was a really, really positive piece for us when we rolled this out. We expected a lot more pushback than we got. And don't get me wrong, there's pushback on everything, right? But it was engaged, conversational pushback, right? More of an understanding than anything. So I think you're going to probably have a really good positive outlook on this once you get intertwined with the agents.
Hey everyone, Dean here. Quick timeout from the episode to share with you the ABW Tuesday Mortgage Memo, your weekly market highlights sent directly to your inbox every Tuesday. This is certainly one you're not going to want to miss, so make sure to sign up now. You can do so with a link in the show notes, or you can head to joinabw.ca and sign up there. This is a high-level summary of market developments, regulatory updates, and housing trends every Tuesday. So hope you enjoy it, and back to the show. So, that's a good segue here. It's like the role and vision for a better way. We've, explained that already, but like just looking at the responsibilities and maybe getting a bit more granular here, like Deryk, Justin, maybe we can just riff on that, like just, overseeing, the provincial regulatory compliance, like, starting there, FinTrack development, operations, and strategic initiatives. Like, why don't we go a little bit more granular there just to give, mainly like our listeners, of course, are largely a better way agents, but there's a lot of agents out there that listen to this podcast on a regular basis. And, just understanding what goes behind the scenes, I think is one, it's interesting for folks that care and ultimately want to, continue to be leaders in this industry. So why don't we just touch on that and just what does it look like, and Justin's vision for coming in here and making, a powerful impact.
I've had the privilege of dealing with all sorts of brokers, ones that are accepting, ones that aren't accepting, ones that are new, ones that are very veteran. And I think the thing that I've come away with from both working at Origin and at CFS is that there needs to be somebody in play that knows the answers. There needs to be someone in play that can talk the talk, because everyone's going to have questions. And, I'm not scared to say, what, I don't know, but I'll find out. And luckily enough, over the last 4 years, really committed to the compliance and operations side, I built some really interesting and fantastic relationships with not only the provincial regulators, but I have contacts over at the FinTrack side as well that I can reach out to if I have any comments, questions, concerns. I'm actually a part of the technical working group for BCFSA's MSA launch that's happening in October 2026. I can't say anything because I've already signed a stat deck, but all that kind of stuff is very interesting to me. And I think making sure that agents are aware of the changes that are coming and they are aware of the differences in between the provincial regulators that exist right now, especially with the, interprovincial brokering is such a big thing. Deal desks, as we were talking about before we even started recording. It's such a big thing in the group now and in the industry as a whole. Again, there just needs to be someone to provide more exposure to the answers beyond, yes and no, because I said so. You need to be able to say, no, I realize that that's the way in BC, but in Alberta, because of the Alberta Consumer Protection Act, we actually don't have to do this. Right. So it's a matter of finding a nice rhythm between being able to answer all the questions, the majority of the questions. Again, I don't know everything. I'd like to, and that's my role that I'm stepping into. But for right now, I have no problem, putting that off and finding the rhythm. But I think being able to approach agents, both veteran and new, with consistency and with, an honest approach, and being able to not, always have your compliance asshole hat on, right? Sometimes you have to take off the hat and look at it from the broker standpoint, which I'm familiar with as well, as Deryk said, and be able to say, you know what, I get it. Let's just make sure we're as covered as we can be. And in the future, maybe there's some extra steps that we can take to make sure that this doesn't happen again.
For sure. I mean, having someone like yourself that's devoted to this, I can tell you firsthand that compliance, whether it be provincial or FinTrack, the legislation can be vague. Right. And unfortunately, that's the way it's always going to be. So you have to go to these depths of finding someone and communicating directly with them, running your documentation by them, having deep conversations, hosting meetings with them, which, I know from experience, most of the industry doesn't do. They go with what they think is right. And unfortunately, when it comes time for an audit, when you think it's right and it's wrong, it's bad for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. So to have someone that's devoted to making sure that we're doing things above board, balancing it with the fact that we're dealing with business people that are self-employed and we're not trying to cripple their business, right? Like that's how we operate now. And that's how we'll continue to operate. It just opens up so many more opportunities to ensure that we are doing things properly, adequately, and our brokers are educated on it, right? I think that's the biggest piece, especially when you get into a larger brokerage. Like, how do you educate, 400 people, right? It's tough to do, and you need to have consistent communication. I mean, the MSA in BC, you can ignore this for anyone in other provinces, but the MSA in BC is launching, or it's coming into play in about a year, a little bit over a year. But like, we're already starting to put communication out on this to educate, to drip, right? Like, we're doing as much as we can to make sure that agents don't have to go do this research themselves, which a lot of brokerages put the onus on the broker to figure it out. And, even the assessment that just came out, we put out communication on that and how to go about, filling it in, because a lot of it, unfortunately, doesn't make sense for brokerages in BC. So yeah, this is a huge piece for me, and I'm excited about it. And I think the just longevity too, as we talked about earlier, as you continue to grow, you have to make sure that your team is adequate, right? To your point, a lot of the industry is just sales and growth, and that's the focus, and no one wants to spend time and money and energy on stuff like this. And I just don't see a world where people will be able to continue to grow at a rapid pace without a proper, adequate team in place.
Yeah, I mean, just hammering home the fact that you have a broker lens, and like a lot of brokers will think compliance changes, less efficiency in their business because they have more things to do, more boxes to check, and like the whole idea of like us investing in this part of our business is to make it a lot easier to understand what is required of you. Having somebody like yourself with so much brokering experience can explain that in a way that is easier to understand than, reading an 89-page document that's written by the regulators or whatever it is, right? So really trying to make this easier is priority one. That may come with plans to develop user-friendly tools or, just quick tutorial guides. Again, the bat phone of Justin to be able to just, hey, what am I doing here? Am I doing this wrong? Am I doing this right? Like, am I overdoing this, or what is it, right? I think that's the real message I want to make sure our team knows is this is to make your life easier. That's priority one. And then for our listeners, and starting to, look at teasing this new segment that we have on the podcast is to share all of this information with the industry. Like, this isn't just about, hey, join a better way so you can, have an easier path to compliance and understanding. It's like, no, we really want to educate the industry and make the industry better. At the end of the day, like, it's a small industry, and we want to make sure that mortgage brokers are looked at as sophisticated professionals within the financial space. I think FinTrack brought a lot of professionalism to our industry when it comes from how banks look at us. And again, this is my hope and wish, but I look at the big banks that aren't in our channel that maybe feel more comfortable to come into our channel because we're taking this seriously. We're now being regulated and we're doing things the right way. Maybe it's a big wish, but I feel like it's all moving in a positive direction from that perspective. And maybe that's a good segue for us now, is just teasing the new segment, like some of the things that maybe we're going to focus on. Justin, this is really your baby going forward. Like, what can our listeners expect and some of the things that we're going to be diving into?
Yeah. I mean, right off the bat, the biggest thing, and again, for those of you that are not in BC, right, the British Columbia Mortgage Services Act that's coming into 2026 is pretty all consuming as far as the compliance sector of this industry in British Columbia is concerned. So we're going to be covering things on that. We'll go over FinTrack. We'll go over, rules and recommendations. I've been lucky enough to work with the AML shop in creations of full policies and procedure manuals, as well as the risk assessments. So I'm able to really have a great conversation about pieces of the industry and pieces of the FinTrack requirements and how they might blend better with our industry, because I've found that that's a big thing, is that it's coming, right? You could kind of copy and paste from the real estate sector and say, this should apply to the brokering world. But again, it doesn't. It's its own industry. It's its own world. So finding ways to kind of navigate it while making sure FinTrack is still satisfied and we tick all the boxes and we're doing all the due diligence and whatnot. So regulator stuff in BC, we're going to be covering the differences between, regulatory viewpoints between Alberta, British Columbia, and Ontario, because there are differences, right? Each of them is regulated by their own one. It's just like underwriting, I say, right? 75% of it's the same. 25% of it is very different, and that's where you're going to make or break on your file and need to know what lender to submit it to, need to know how to package it. It's the exact same for BC, Alberta, and Ontario. There are slight differences that are just different enough to be annoying and just different enough to really catch you up. So we're going to be going over those. As far as the brokerage goes, right, we're going to be going into things like lender responsibilities, lender contacts, how you can approach them, broker management. What are kind of things that you see on the brokerage side that you can pass along? I've been lucky enough to work under some wonderful broker owners and wonderful teams. Each one does it a little bit different, including you guys, right? I learned tons from you, but you did it a little bit different than Clear Trust. That does it a little bit different than Kyle does. Then does it a little bit different than CFS does. So being able to kind of really narrow down on those differences and inject that into the episodes is something that I think people will get a good use out of. And again, always keeping that broker lens on, right? Keeping that broker lens on, making sure that I'm not just, the compliance guy that's trying to sit on high and tell everybody what to do, but to be able to actually say, you know what, guys, here's what's happening. Here's what they want you to do. Here's what we can kind of do to make it a little bit easier. And then covering things like policies and procedures, not only for FinTrack, but for internal brokerage, right? Internal brokerage policies and procedures is something that's going to be very, very relevant. The MSA is drawing attention to it. It's something that you should have at your brokerage and be available to you. If you don't, please ask your principal broker, because that's where you're going to find all your answers. Alberta, British Columbia, Ontario, FinTrack, they all have their rules and they are vague guidelines. But, 8 out of 10 times, it's going to come down to what your brokerage thinks. Right, what your brokerage's approach to it is. Talk to your broker. You see those on the ILMBs all the time. They have questions about FinTrack or compliance or whatever, and everyone's simple reply is check with your broker, check with your brokerage. And the policies and procedures is what outlines it, right? It's going to find out what the approach is to the 35% max APR Canadian Criminal Code rate that just changed in January, right? What can you do? What can't you do? Right? Everything from that, above and below, onboarding lenders, right? Disclosure forms, everything should be tucked away in there. So I'm really going to focus on that too, right? Again, making the caveat that the way we do it isn't necessarily the way your brokerage does it, but hopefully it sparks interest in, seeing what we're doing here at a better way, but also checking with your own broker to see how you guys are doing it and see if you can improve it, which would just be, a general improvement in the industry.
Yeah, I mean, well said. And looking at really the theme of our podcast here to date has been really heavy on interview-based type episodes. When you look at the Behind the Broker series, we've had some of our, most, experienced brokers on these shows and just sharing some of the, the greatest tips. There's a lot of consistency in what makes great brokers great, but there's also, a lot of nuances that, things that people do differently that work for them. And, same goes with our Behind the Lender series, Behind the Leaders, just the day-to-day that goes on at those, institutions or with those leaders and how they go about their day. Like this is really going to be very similar. And, we look at our partners with DLCG, whether it's, Mary Gronkowski, Scott Musselman, who was mentioned earlier, like there's some really good people there that also have a very broker lens, broker friendly approach. And those are people that, we haven't asked them to be on the show yet, but I'm certainly confident they would come on if we asked. And these are the types of people that we just want to make, accessible and also draw from them. So, world's our oyster here. Again, people probably hear compliance like click, turn off, but hopefully they don't. I do think just the culture of the industry it's already changed, and it's going to continue to go in this direction. And I think, maybe this isn't the most fun topic, but we're going to do our best to make it as fun and interesting as possible. We just have to keep the Kansas City Chiefs out of this discussion going forward. Justin is unfortunately a Chiefs fan, so we'll do our best to avoid those discussions, but I'm sure stuff like that will come up. And we'll just, try to keep this as fun and loose as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And big shout out to Mary. I know I forgot to mention her when I talked about Scott, but Mary's been a great resource for me as well. When the FinTrack stuff came out, the DLCG was right on top of it, and Mary was forefront with that. So yeah, I mean, if we can have people like Mary and Scott on there and have them telling their side of the story as well, I think that'll do nothing but add to it.
Awesome. Well, I mean, this was great. Like, honestly, we're thrilled to be working with you again. Everything we just chatted about is obviously things that we've been discussing, between the three of us and Jason, of course, over the, the last few months. And we're just thrilled to have you. I'm really looking forward to everything we just talked about. And you know what? The unknown, right? Like, we're all really good thinkers and visionary people that I'm sure other ideas will pop up that we can't wait to, share with you as well. And yeah, I just encourage anyone that wants to learn more about this role and how we're going to approach it. Don't hesitate to reach out, whether you're, an A Better Way agent or some other agent or anyone in the industry. Never hesitate to reach out to any three of us on this podcast. And of course, Jason and the whole team at A Better Way. I'm just happy and looking forward to all of this. So thank you, Justin. If you have any final comments, by all means, here's the floor.
Honestly, the biggest thing would be me just thanking you guys for giving the compliance route a pedestal to stand on, right? A soapbox to scream off of. It's nothing that's really being done right now. There's not really anyone in the industry that's doing it loudly. As you said, the compliance people in this industry tend to be a little more reserved. That's the opposite of me. So I appreciate you guys seeing this as an opportunity, not only for me to come and join and seeing how we can better our group, but better the industry in general.
Absolutely, man. I echo Dean's comments. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to getting this rolling, and we got a lot of work to do, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, yeah. So, again, we're just going to keep finding a better way forward. That's what we're going to do here and ongoing. And yeah, thank you for everyone that's listening, and on to the next one. Thank you for tuning in. If you found value in this show, please subscribe to our channel on your preferred platform. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Your support is incredibly appreciated. We also welcome your reviews and feedback, which are crucial in helping us deliver outstanding educational content. Feel free to share your thoughts. A 5-star review would be fantastic if you think we earned it. Lastly, a vital announcement about Backpack Buddies, our chosen charity for 2025. This remarkable organization addresses a hidden hunger issue many are unaware of in British Columbia. While school districts provide meals during school hours, numerous children face food scarcity at home, particularly during the weekends. Backpack Buddy steps in to support these vulnerable children, ensuring they have easy-to-prepare, familiar food for weekends. This is achieved through collaborations with schools and an extensive distribution network. Your contribution can make a significant difference. With just $20, you can give a child in need a food bag from Backpack Buddies filled with enough meals and snacks to sustain them over the weekend and more. Once again, thank you for listening, and see you on the next one.